Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. And welcome back, everybody. I'm going to talk about relationships today, specifically relationships that lead to longer-term relationships and or marriage. And a lot of time, the focus is put on the prenuptial agreement. What about, I'll put that aside for a moment. What about therapy or coaching or counseling for a couple before they even get to that point to really understand who they are, the expectations in the relationship, where they want to go with things? We're going to talk about that today. And this is especially for so many relationships that either have baggage or maybe a second marriage, or it's heading in that direction. She's somebody that helps people with many different areas of relationships. Love her insight every time we get together with her. Yvonne Lee is back on the program with us. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. It's been a good, busy day, Steve, but always happy to be here with you.
Happy to have you here. You offer so much clarity when it comes to helping people move their lives forward. And in many, many different aspects, you even do programs for municipalities, specifically in South Carolina where you are, to help people, could be with substance abuse, anger management, a lot of different counseling. Today, we focus on the relationship. I'm just going to say it, in my experience, I believe that if you're going to be in a serious relationship, you should together have some type of counseling just to talk about how you're feeling, where you are, where you came from. Because a lot of times in the relationship, it doesn't come up. Either you don't want to go there, don't want to talk about it, can be perceived as a negative. And sometimes you just want to, everything's great, we're happy, we love each other. It's why, little things crop up, it's fine, everyth's fine. Yeah, but there's a lot going on there behind. I call it the emotional backpack. Some of us have a big backpack. There's nothing wrong with that, but there's a lot back there. Having worked with a lot of individuals and couples, what are your thoughts?
Oh, my goodness, and I have so many. I think one of my main thoughts is that people so oftentimes are unaware of all that is about to happen when they decide to marry. And there's so much that comes into it. There's a lot of planning. There's a lot of understanding about who you are. And you might think, well, I know who I am. I've been dating this person for years, or we've really gotten close. We're close friends already. We know each other. And then it comes down to some fundamental issues, like how you keep house and how often you eat out versus eating inside. And then it's things like how often you do laundry. It's the way that you budget and how you're saving. It's kind of the things you just do by rote without even thinking of it that oftentimes becomes a surprise crux to people, if you will, for want of a better word. It's I always do it this way, or, this is how I was taught to do it. This is what makes sense. It makes sense for you. It may not make sense for the person you're partnering with. So many of the conversations people are missing are the fundamental life things that we just kind of do. We learn them from our parents or later in life. This is how I developed during college, whatever it may be. And then you have a partner in your life who does things completely different, or they have goals. Have you discussed things like purchasing a home? Do you want a house or do you want a condo? Do you want a multi-level or do you want to have a lot of land? What do you want to leave to any children or family that you may develop in the time you're going to be together? There's a lot that people do not discuss that becomes hiccups later on. So I love the way you introduced it, just that understanding that sometimes you need to just realize that counseling, like you said, not therapy, but counseling is helpful when you are determining, I want to do a long-term life with somebody. Then it helps to have somebody who'll come in and just think of the little hiccups you didn't think about.
It's more like Yvonne is your friend. She's a friend of the couple. We're just hanging out, having a conversation. Just so these things can come up, you would ask the right questions so that the couple sees things maybe from a different area. And interestingly, when people are younger, I feel you're more bendable in terms of what you're accepting. You know, or,
Mm-hmm.
you know that this person likes this. You know, I'll go along with that. You know, a lot of times it can be
Mm-hmm.
the the vibe. But then as you get
Mm-hmm.
older, and maybe you start realizing what's important to you.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes, you know, second marriage, could be third, whatever it is. You're in a relationship now. Your boundaries have come up, and now you're at the
Yes.
point where it's like, I'm not accepting that. I'm not dealing with that.
Mm-hmm.
I've done life. I'm here now. That could
Mm-hmm.
be even more challenging than a younger couple. And I don't
But
mean that in any of that in a bad way. I'm just saying it's a
no.
different realization.
Yes, you develop non-negotiables the older you get, don't you? My values have changed and or have increased. There are certain non-negotiables for me.
Uh huh.
I am a person who I am on my second marriage, to share a little personal information.
Sure.
And my children have always been welcome to jump in the bed with me, right? It just has always been that they come on in the bed. Jump on in, watch a movie, watch a TV show, fall asleep. I've always enjoyed the comfort of that, so it's no big deal to me. My current husband, however, that was not the common for him when his kids were younger. So it was an adjustment for him. He's like, oh, okay, this is happening. And it's just understood. I mean, he's very much father oriented, so it wasn't a problem. But for some people I've spoken to, where he doesn't or she doesn't understand that this is a norm. I could always jump in my parents' bed. I want my kids to have the same. And it doesn't have to be a barrier or a problem. It just maybe now you have to kind of ease into it. So maybe there's certain times when, like after this hour, I want some alone time. So
Mm.
maybe the kids could then understand. It's just a matter of growing together. But that is something that was not thought of. You care about each other, but love itself is not always enough, right? Like there's a fairy tale thought that we love each other. Okay. That's not going to help when you're frustrated or when you're saying, no, you don't tell my kids to leave the room. My kids are welcome in the room. The love is still there, isn't it? But now there's a non-negotiable. There's a something that matters to me. How do we deal with it? And
Yeah.
that's okay, because there are rules and there are boundaries, and you could just work with them, make
How,
it work.
how do we deal with it? That's a great way. That's a great phrase, because
Absolutely.
everything, there's compromise. We figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, talking about kids in the bed, I have a friend. I was texting her the other day, and she goes, "Yeah, my son's in bed. He just fell asleep. We were watching TV, and that had never been me." I'm like,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. I think it's wonderful, to hang out together, maybe watch TV, but that's a regular basis. And she's single right now, and that's
Mm-hmm.
always been from the beginning, where the kids fall asleep in the bed, but what's the
Mm-hmm.
compromise? The compromise can be, you know, if she was in a relationship and let's say her partner wasn't into that, all right, like you said, after 9 p.m., you guys got to go in your own bed. And then and it's the deal you set in the beginning with kids, as you know. It's hard.
Yes.
Well, it's hard to change. It's hard to change that, in their minds. What about the 5 love languages?
Mm.
Setting that up very early in the relationship. More and more, I look at that and I see the value in it. I really do. What do you think?
Because it's understanding the other person, isn't it? It's so important to know, how do you want to be loved? That is an important conversation I've had with many couples. You cannot love somebody the way you want to. This is not Burger King. This is somebody you say you care about, you want to have life with, this relationship with. You don't get to love me the way you want to. You have to get to know me and understand what I need. For instance, well, you don't want to hold hands all the time. No, my hand gets sweaty. I don't like it. Okay, but I need that. That's important to me. Touch is important to me.
Mm.
So how do we compromise on it? Maybe we don't have to hold hands that long. Maybe it doesn't have to be this often. There's always a compromise. No, it should not be just about one person. I believe in that. A relationship is 2 people, but each person has to get what they need from it. And it's not fair to say, well, this is what I need, so you have to come out of your comfort zone to give it. Yeah, you should come out of your comfort zone sometimes, but to a degree where I'm also coming out of mine for yours. So it's a give and take. That's what it's supposed to be. This is how I need to be loved. Let's talk about it. Understand why. Sometimes I feel like I've had couples where, but that's not what I want. I need to be left alone when I'm upset and she wants to talk. And right. But if that's something that's important to her and she needs to talk, you don't get to decide that you don't want to. You don't get to brush aside her feelings and decide, I don't care how it makes you feel, I don't want to. So what can you handle in the discussion? You gave in and came here. You're talking to me. So how can you talk to her? In what increment of time, what space, how long can the conversation be? Do you need a pause when it gets kind of in tender topics? Can you pause, agree to listen to music or do something else for about 20 minutes and then come back to the conversation? Everything in a relationship is about compromise and understanding what the other person needs, whether it's about being in a marriage or just the long term. If you're going to have life with somebody, you can't be the first person you think of and call that love.
It seems like a lot of us treat the other person the way we want to be treated. Like, for example,
absolutely.
Maybe it's a classic thing, but a man may do all this wonderful thing, all these wonderful things. I built an extension on the house. I do the lawn. I take care of this. And like, wonderful. He's doing everything. And in his mind, he is showing you love. That's how he does it. Acts of service. And there she is. I just want quality time and to be held. But look what I did for you. And he's waiting for some kind of acceptance and appreciation on that. Maybe he needs to feel appreciated as well. And she's not feeling it because he's doing what he thinks he knows he wants, not what she wants, and doesn't even see it.
And even deeper than that, though, Steve, I think you're on the right path. And as far as he's doing what he thinks is right, this is his love language. But many times it's more than that. That could be at the heart of who he is, like what we would term a core belief. So maybe it's the fact that the men that he watched growing up, this is how his father loved his mother. This is how his uncle has loved his aunt. So this is more than just my love language towards you. This is the men that I have respected and looked up to and have had model life for me, what a man is for me. This is my idea of a man. And for you to limit it or to dismiss it as nothing, you're almost saying that all of those men that I've looked up to and all the ways that I've thought being a man is, at the core, you're saying that's still not good enough. Just if you look at it from that aspect, if I could help you, right? Like if I was counseling, if I could help you to understand that this is more than just him trying to show his love. This is him modeling men that he has admired and loved and looked up to and saying, this is what they said a man is supposed to do. Then can you better appreciate that when he does that, that's at the core of everything he is. He is modeling what he believes great men do. Now, if you need more than that, don't dismiss what he's done. Acknowledge it, give him praise for it, because that's the core of him. But also pull a little bit more and say, honey, I love that you do that. And the garden is beautiful in our home. I'm so proud to show it off and invite people over. But I also need to go out once a week to just have you sit still. Not have some chore you have to do. Just sit still with me for 2 hours while we watch a Twilight movie. You're saying I brought that up because I'm a Twilight lover, but whatever it is, I need you to do this with me in addition to. Sometimes we can tend to say, but that's not what I asked for. That's not what I asked him, without understanding what that action meant to that person. It's deeper than just that language sometimes.
I see that. And thank you for sharing that. Because,
Absolutely.
The core value thing, he could come from a long line of men that have done things for their family.
Absolutely.
And that's
Great
a big
provider.
deal. It's a
Yes.
big deal. And now, his partner may be looking at that like, well, that's, thank you very much for doing that, but I need this. And
Right.
he's like, what, wait a minute. Wait, this is how we operate here.
Right. Right. In my family, this is what matters. If the man is a provider, and it's the same from a woman's perspective. If she is cleaning the house and I mean, keeping the floors pristine, dusting everything, and she cooks a hot meal and all I want is a bowl of cereal or just a sandwich, don't dismiss. Sometimes it's more than the love language or just their preference. There really could be, if that's what I saw my mother do, if this is my understanding of what a woman does, then don't dismiss it. Don't put down or take away everything that I am, because what you're saying is that I'm not good enough. Because this is the whole of me, right? This is what I do. It comes from how I've defined myself or how I see myself. And for you to say it's not good enough, it's just that's mean, And I don't think people say it to be mean, but it comes across as mean. And then you wonder why. I don't see why it's a big deal. I'm telling her she doesn't have to cook, and she blew up and she stormed and because you did more than tell her she didn't need to cook. You took away something that identified who she is, that love of seeing somebody she cares about eat something that she took 2 hours to do. And you just missed it as nothing. You don't even understand why it's important to her.
Thanks for bringing that up. And you know what? Yeah. Now I'm getting another picture. It even goes deeper than that. It may not be what somebody experienced their parents doing. It may be what their parents or parent didn't do. So
absolutely.
Let's say on the man's side, and I don't mean to just look at the man's side. I'm just picking any. It could be either way. But let's say his dad was, not present, didn't really care, went and hung with the boys, had a couple of beers, the things were falling off the house. It was a mess. And he said to himself, the son of that man said, I'm not having that. That's not the way I want my life to be. I am going to put effort into it. Could be even on the father's side, as a father, maybe you didn't have a dad that was involved and engaged, and now you changed it up. And now your partner doesn't, I don't want to say respect it, but doesn't appreciate it for why you're doing it. And the end result is the same. The same. Yeah. Wow.
It is because and this is why the counseling is so helpful, because while you may be talking at the surface, I'm going to probe a little bit and say, okay, but where did that come from? Why does that matter to you? And people don't always ask that question when they're listening to the person. Right, because we're so attached to it. We're so attached to our feelings and justifying why I'm saying this or why we're having this argument, if you will. And I'm hanging on to my side. I refuse to give. I'm right. I'm justified. But sometimes it takes a moment and somebody outside of both of you to just say, okay, give me a moment. I just need to understand, why is this so important? Why does it matter? You're attached to it. And just in answering that, it's very... it's always enlightening and a wonderful feeling to see the aha on the face of the partner, like I didn't know. Oh, honey, I didn't know that that's what it meant. Well, how was I supposed to know? Right. But that's why you come here. Let's talk about it. Sometimes people can get into a rote of just not talking when things get difficult, right? Sweeping it under the rug.
Yeah.
But that rug gets lumpy quick, and that's difficult to walk on. And then you're stumbling a lot, and you just wonder, how did things get here? How did we dissolve so? Because you kept sweeping it, because you kept sweeping and tucking, and you didn't resolve. It's so much easier to just come in and let somebody hear both sides and say, all right, let's go a little bit deeper here. And it doesn't take that many. This is not long periods. And just sometimes if they're very open, in just one session, it can reveal so much that people are like, wow. And I always tend to send my clients away with something. I believe in homework. Okay, so over the next, until I see you again, I want you to practice this. I want you to try this. Or I want you to fill this out and do this so we can talk about it next. And sometimes by 2 sessions, they're like, you've given us so many tools, so much perspective. I just hadn't considered, maybe we need to talk about a few things first. Yeah, Let's take another look. Doesn't mean you're wrong for each other. Just means maybe we weren't as prepared as we thought we were. Let's
Yeah.
talk a little bit more. Let's dig deeper.
And instead of looking at it as a negative, it's more of a positive. This is going to make us as a couple stronger.
Absolutely.
And you're going to ask those questions that we wouldn't even ask of ourselves. So why do I do that? Why is that important to me? You're going to get to the core of it very quickly. In a loving way. It's not like, you're on the stand.
No, right.
You're being grilled. But it's so important. It is so important to realize, these two people.
It's so important to know who you are. It's an easier world when you know why you are the way you are, why you feel the way you do, why you have some things that are non-negotiables for you. Because the better you know you, when you come into a relation healthy and whole, you make it easier for the other person to know how to deal with you, what to expect from you, what to know what you expect from them. The healthier and more, what is the term they're using nowadays, emotionally mature you are, the easier it is for the other person being with you. And just many times we are not prepared to bring another person into our life. We have not cleaned out our bags. We have not swept under that rug. We are dealing with hurts in the closet. And then we bring people in our lives. And I oftentimes say, if you are not in somebody's life to make it better, why are you there? You know you have issues you have not dealt with. Why would you bring somebody into that without being honest up front? Don't help them.
If you know that you have issues.
If you know. That's right.
Many people don't. And I could go on for an hour of relationships it was clear what happened in these relationships. Just watching from afar, even, personally seeing things that transpired.
Absolutely.
But it can be traced back to childhood and situations like that weren't resolved. And most people, again, don't know unless you do the work. And thank you for saying what you said a second ago, figuring you out. We should be doing that anyway before you go into a couples counseling, or what's the best way to phrase this? Is it, the premarital meeting, if you will? What do we call that? It's not really therapy. What is it?
Even is therapy even therapy? It really is whatever you feel. For some people, it is therapy to them because therapeutic is what they needed. And for other people, it's just a talking session. This is just some guidance.
I'm not trying to minimize anything. I'm trying to make it more palatable for some when, you say to your other half, listen, you know what? I heard this thing. I think it's a great idea. Maybe we just, go talk with somebody who counsels people and lets them realize what's going on in the relationship, the dynamics and everything, and how to make it better. Because that's what you're doing. It's a positive as opposed to, we're going to figure out all the negative things and why you do what you do. No, it's for the better.
And it's that's such a down feeling and make you not want to come. It's going to be like, oh, we're going to, rehash everything and go over. That does not make you want to do it. However, that is also why we tell people it's really good to get like a consultant, have like a quick 15, 20-minute call ahead of time. If you're going through psychology today, if you're just looking online and you see somebody, maybe this person, maybe their bio makes me think, then maybe do like a 15, 20 minute to see how you vibe together. So when you do decide to tell your partner, fiance, spouse, whomever, you don't say, why don't we try counseling? You can say, hey, why don't we go talk to Mrs. Lee? This is a woman I saw online, and she really seemed to know what she was talking about. Her bio, I spoke to her for a couple of minutes, and I think she was really easy to talk to. So it's less about the therapy we're going to, and just there's a person I know, and we kind of vibed well. And I think you'll like her, and I think she could help us.
Yeah. Everybody should do it.
Absolutely. And everybody should just check in with yourself. In fact, I had a client just tell me yesterday, a new client, and she said, I don't really need counseling, but I just like to check in. Just on myself once in a while, just to see, where I am emotionally, mentally fit. And I love that. I was like, oh, I love a check-in. Just go and I just have some things in life and I just want to talk to somebody.
Fabulous.
Excellent.
That awareness that she has, fantastic. And you know what? I think we should talk to ourselves. You're driving in the car alone, right? And just even say, how you feeling? You know, that situation that happened earlier today. How is that? How you feeling right now? And then answer yourself and go back and forth. I know it sounds crazy, but you will get some clarity and you will get it out, where a lot of times we just keep those things in.
Absolutely.
Yvonne, what's the best way to find you?
You can find me on my website, cndspg.com, on LinkedIn, Facebook, Counseling and Shifting Perspectives, and soon to be on YouTube also. So please check in with me. Please get to know me. I'd love to see.
Check-in's great, and I'm looking forward to checking in with you next time we get together.
Absolutely. You too, Steve. Thanks so much for today.
Thank you. We'll be right back. Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Let's go inside the mind of a 10-year-old.
I should have worn those earrings today. I like those earrings. Gabby has those awesome earrings. I need to ask her where she got those, but that's just what she would want me to do. I'll have Michaela ask her for me.
Buckle up, Sarah.
Yeah, but then Michaela will be like, why don't you just ask her yourself? That's just like Michaela.
Sarah, buckle up.
Michaela's such a great name. I wish I was called Michaela. There's like a dozen Sarahs in my class.
Hey, we're not hitting the road until you buckle up, honey.
Oh yeah, seatbelt. I forget sometimes because my brain is like busy, you know? I wonder if there's pizza at school today.
Sometimes it can be tough to get through to your kids, but it's not impossible. Always make sure they're wearing their seatbelts, even on short drives. Remember, you have the keys, you have the power. Never give up until they buckle up. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council. Visit safercar.gov/kidsbuckleup for more information.